Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Saturday, November 16th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 46 is Ori and the Blind Forest. There are a lot of things I love about video games. I love that they create uniquely engaging opportunities to interact with a narrative. I love that they can provide a challenge for me to overcome, learning from my mistakes. Sometimes, so many mistakes. I love how striking visual styles and world design can ignite my imagination. And I love video game music. When done well, it can combine with this challenge aspect and the world building, and especially the uniquely engaging narrative to create something truly special. I love musical leitmotifs in any form of media, and I'm sure I'll talk about this some more throughout the year. So when music can carry the narrative almost on its own, it's a beautiful thing. It works especially well in video games because of how you can't guarantee the pace at which players progress through the game, so you can lean on these themes a bit more and tie them to locations and characters more directly as they get to them. I had heard of Ori and the Blind Forest and how it was really good, but I kept putting it off. It wasn't until the game had been out for over a year that I happened upon its soundtrack randomly. From the music alone, I knew I was going to love this game, and I was so right. You play as Ori, a cute little spirit animal thing, who is separated from the enormous spirit tree, which protects the land surrounding it, keeping it lush and plentiful. After this separation, you are discovered by Naru, a cozy, fat bear thing? I'm gonna go with that. Naru basically adopts you, and you spend your days together, eating fruit and enjoying just the simple things every single day. But the spirit tree calls out to no avail. From there, the rivers dry up, the trees rot, and the fruit stops flowing. Naru uses the last of her strength in search of more food for you, but ultimately dies of starvation. The whole sequence pulls at the heartstrings, and the relationship between Ori and Naru is beautiful, even without any dialogue directly going on. Ori tries their best to go on, but ultimately everything proves too much, and they, too, perish. But they did reach the spirit tree and are revived. It is now up to Ori to restore the tree's strength and save the land via extraordinarily precise, fast-paced platforming combat. Things start off pretty simple, doing basic jumps and moving boxes around and such to solve puzzles. For combat, you have a little orb that shoots out energy things at enemies. Over time, however, you gain all sorts of upgrades, like the ability to wall jump, double jump, do charged attacks with your orb, ground pound, and so much more. Killing enemies and finding other items allows you to gain levels, earning a talent point that you can spend on 3 tracks. There's a combat track, a movement track, and another utility track as well. As you move further along each one, you may need prerequisites in the other tracks, and things start costing more and more of these talent points, so you'll need to save them up if you want the big rewards. Personally, with how much emphasis is on the platforming in-game rather than the direct combat, I like to focus heavily on the movement track. Narratively, as you struggle against what feels like impossible odds, time and time again, Ori's defining characteristic is their kindness. You are following a sort of monkey, spider-ish thing. There's a lot of things in this game, they don't really explain all of it. Their name is Gumo, which has stolen a spirit orb, critical to your mission. Despite all of the trouble it creates for you as you try to keep the shiny, awesome object, it eventually gets hurt itself, and Ori stops to save it. Recognizing that Ori wishes to save the forest and all life around it, you get Gumo's orb, which is actually a key to open the first dungeon of the game. Dungeons are long, platform-heavy sequences with ample opportunity for your death, and the best part of the game. Don't get me wrong, traversing a large and beautiful world is a lot of fun, but this game is so great to me because of the hardest parts, where I lose, and I lose, and I lose, and each time I learn something, I get a little better, I react a little quicker, and I get a little further. The dungeons have plenty of Twitch reaction sequences, but also create the space necessary between them for you to breathe and think about a slower-paced puzzle, redirecting enemy attacks, and navigating to hard-to-reach places. I especially like the ability you unlock where you can launch yourself off enemy projectiles, also launching the projectile itself in the opposite direction. The flexibility of this lets you use it offensively to fight, but also to solve puzzles and climb extremely high into the air and chain it from shot to shot. The game excels the most when doing longer sequences where there's little to absolutely no room for error, building up and up and up until there's one big pressure release. This happens anytime you beat a quote-unquote boss, which is often actually an environmental factor you need to deal with in platform, like these rushing waters from restoring the rivers and everything through the forest. The game is constantly one-upping itself, and while I'm not exactly giving you a full walkthrough or anything here, the actual antagonist is this huge bird, and the story there is very touching, actually, and I understand why the bird is so angry about your quest, but I'll let you check that out for yourself. When you finally escape from the bird and can save the day at the end of the game, it's a crazy, difficult sequence, requiring you to use everything you've learned from the rest of the game, and it's really just punishingly difficult, basically needing to be borderline perfect every step of the way. The game tracks how many times you've died, and you can look at that in the file I'm showing here, beating the game. I've died over 300 times. There's an achievement to beat this game without ever dying. If I want an incredible challenge, I know where to go. Ori is one of the most visually stunning games I've ever played, accompanied by phenomenal music, I mean just amazing, and fast-paced gameplay loop that is difficult as it is rewarding, culminating in an unforgettable experience that makes me feel things in ways only video games as a medium can. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 45th favorite game, where I talk about a different indie darling search action platforming game.